post today. So I told him, I was like, hey, man, you're going to dominate this treatment. And I said, you always post. So Liam is a special person, and he's a big part of our team. Obviously, I'm not talking about the awards or how good he is as a closer. But, he's a big part of the clubhouse, and, we want to get him building his Legos as fast as possible in the corner.
And Joe Kelly is all of us on with Alana Rizzo earlier today. Steve Phillips, thanks for joining us. We are uniting here at the network in support of Liam Hendriks, stepping aside for health reasons. And you, of course, want to echo that sentiment. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Lauren. Yes, I mean, listen, whenever you have a story like this, baseball doesn't mean anything, right? These players are people. I think a lot of times everybody forgets it. Fans, media, all of us, there's the invincible guys. They get out there. There's great athletes, and we forget. They face some of the same struggles that we all do. And the one thing we know about Liam Hendriks, he is one of the most competitive people in baseball. And you think about when he gets the big out, he is a ferocious competitor. And I suspect that we're going to see that same level of competitiveness attacking this disease, attacking it, and that same level of celebration that when he gets the big out and he does the fist pump and celebrates, we're going to be able to see him do that. We're all going to do it along with him. And certainly the thoughts and prayers of all of us go out to him and his wife for a quick and speedy recovery.
Indeed, goosebumps. We all wait for that moment in time. As the White Sox said on Twitter, we are with you, 31. You and I spoke on Friday about Carlos Correa, and I asked about the timeline, and you said, Lauren, sooner rather than later. Are we still there? What's the latest?
Yeah, I do think so. I think, the one thing to think about, if the deal's done, they're not going to announce it today because of the college football playoff game, championship game tonight. They want to be able to make it a story. Look, if the Mets go away on Carlos Correa, he really has nothing. And you think about the teams that we're in. We know that the Twins are in at 10 years, $285 million. The Mets are at 12 years, $315 million. The Mets are working backwards off of that to mitigate the risk. If the Mets go away and the Twins are in, then you start at 285 and start to back off to mitigate the risk. And so I do think this is the only real game in town for Correa. Every picture of him and his family, he's smiling. The kids have Met shirts on. I think it's inevitable that this thing gets done. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get through the football today and maybe tomorrow, the next day, the Mets find a way to get this thing done and make an announcement about it.
Sounds like a plan. We are waiting on Carlos Correa. We are also waiting to see if and where Brian Reynolds could move. I mean, I feel like I ask you this. I apologize. I ask you this question every year.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is this never-ending story. And so, he put himself in a really tough spot. For a guy who wanted to get traded, when you make a public statement that you're demanding a trade, you put the general manager in a really tough spot. You've got 3 years of control left. And as the general manager, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, you want to trade, that's great. But if I trade you, I've now set a precedent that when a player demands a trade, I take action. And it now entices and emboldens the next player to say, yeah, I'm not happy if I'm not getting a deal. I need to get a trade too. And so I think it's a tough situation for Ben Cherington. He's doing the right thing where he's listening. He's not shopping. He's getting a lot of offers. And, you've got the Dodgers in on it, the Marlins in on it, and the Rangers are in on it, and so the Yankees. And so I think that if they're going to trade him, this is the time to do it because he's at peak value. You got 3 years of control, and I suspect that control level is the most important factor for teams going after him. So I think something's going to get done before spring training. A lot of people think it won't. It's going to be a big-time package, but I think it's the right time for the Pirates, and I think they'll find a way to manage the issue of a player demanding a trade.
There's an effect that lingers. So very interesting from that point of view. Steve Phillips with the very latest. Appreciate it on MLB Tonight. We're going to step aside. Over the years, Justin Turner has proven that he can pick it over at third. Right now, it's time for him to prove that at first. Coming up, heads to Studio 42 to break it down. That transition from one corner spot to another. Stay with us.
Mostly DH, little first base. Hopefully not too much third base. Hoping, Rafi's over there every day. I've done a lot of things in my career. I've played all over the infield. I've been a part of a bunch of different roles, and I'm not really coming into it with the mindset that I have one job or one role or just DHing. I'm going to be ready to play wherever AC needs me to play and understand that, over the course of 162, a lot of things happen and might be asked to step into some different roles.
Hard to imagine him in a different uniform, right? So many fixtures changing cities this offseason. 9 years in Los Angeles, JT heading to Boston. So first base it is, Mike Lowell, with Devers at third. And by my math, your final season in Boston, 43 games at first. What does he need to know?
Well, there's a little bit of a transition, Lauren, and Justin Turner does have the advantage of having played all over the infield that we saw in those highlights. But let's talk about the difference between going from third base to first base. I would say the main key of everything a third baseman does is he wants to create angles in order for what? To make that throw to first. Everything is we want to take our 45-degree angles to be able to set ourselves up to be able to make the throw. The beauty of playing first base for Justin Turner is you're going to have a lot more time. Responsibilities change, the depth of where you can play changes, but there's a couple things that kind of stay the same. I think angles still play very important, but one big adjustment, as my good-looking colleague right here, Cameron Maben, has, is the glove for me was a big deal. You know, the pocket in these first base gloves are a lot bigger. That's why guys sometimes that play outfield and infield, when they come in, they change gloves. This is a much different size, so for me, turning that double play, getting that ball out was a big difference. However, when you're at first base, I do think it allows you to play deeper angles. Why? You can cover a little bit more ground, because you can't have a little bit of that mentality of let me just get that ball down, knock it down, because I have the safety valve of a pitcher covering. So what's Justin Turner going to have to learn? First, he's going to have to learn how fast certain guys get to first base covering the base. This should take him about 1 day in spring training. Some guys are real quick. Some guys take sharp angles. Some guys take a little bit more of a loopy angle. And basically, he's going to understand where he gets it. He wants to feed the guy, have his body continue through the throw, in order to be able to feed someone while he's running. You don't want to throw behind him. You don't want to throw it, too far in front of him, so he has to overextend himself. So then what do we do? Footwork's, I think, a big situation for a first baseman. And guys that don't play a lot of first base, they really want to make sure that they get out there and stretch for their infielders. Picking is going to happen a million times. He's going to get a million fungos. He's going to be able to pick. Justin Turner's played all over the field. He's going to have no problem doing this. But I think a lot of young first basemen, what happened is they want to get out there. They want to get out there quick to stretch for their infielder. What happens is if you get out too far, too early, you limit yourself. So I wanted to do this drill of showing the baseball of how you can expand your target area. If I stretch out too early and someone throws it to my right side, this is as far as I can stretch. I'm going to drop the ball right here. If I do the same thing and stretch out here and the ball's thrown up the line to my right, this is as far as I can go. Let's drop that ball right here. Now, if you can manipulate the base and kind of move around according to where the throw is, everyone starts kind of in that center position with, as a right-hander first baseman, your right leg's in the middle. If that throw takes me towards my right side, I can shift my foot to the end, extend out here, and make a play here. Look at this. That's one ball. Same thing, they throw it way up the line, maybe from the shortstop coming from short center field, makes that throw and that ball starts tailing. I see it here, I shift my feet, I get out here, and I can extend up the line without being in that position where the runner's going to run into me. Look at the difference between this. This is about 4 feet, this is probably about 12. If you really want to endear yourself to your fellow infielders, you make yourself the biggest target as possible. I was very spoiled. I had a little bit of Kevin Millar in Florida, but I had Derek Lee for a number of years. I mean, this is 6'5", 6'6", athletic guy. I felt like I could throw the ball into an ocean. He was going to pick it up for me. So it's really cool to have someone that was such a good safety valve. So I think, picking angles, being able to make yourself the biggest target for your infielders is a big deal. Now, cutoffs, I think, is going to be the final thing that the first baseman needs to make the adjustment. Ball from right field, very similar to third base. You're the cutoff man from right field, kind of checking your runner going. You have the runner going from third base to home over your shoulder. Third base is very similar from the throw from the left fielder. However, Cameron Maben's going to explain to you guys the importance of a first baseman being in the cutoff position for a center fielder. Take me through it, Cameron.
Yeah, extremely important. And one thing that I saw throughout the years, being on 10 different teams, is guys that made that transition from third base to first base, one thing that they had a problem with, it wasn't that ball down the line or behind them, like you said, where they could turn around and kind of be there. It was that one to center field. Center field, every once in a while, they would find themselves falling asleep a little bit watching the play because they're out of position. So one thing that we would talk about early in camp to those guys, switching positions and making that transition is, hey, as soon as that ball is hit, you know if it's through the infield. So as soon as it's hit, a run on second base, bust your tail out here to about the back of the mound. For me, you got to know your arm. You know, I had a pretty decent arm. For me, I knew if he was right around the back of the mound, I could give him a good throw and get that ball over the mound and get that good long hop.
You don't want to hit
You don't want to hit that front of that mound.
Up.
Exactly. We all seen that good throw come out, hit the back of the mound and pop up straight in the air. So for me, get out here, get early, get your hands up, be big. We want to see you. You want a nice big target so that we have a person to throw to, come up, make it easy throw, make our job extremely easy, and then they do all the work. So getting out there, not falling asleep, remembering center field is also your priority as well when you're at first base.
Now, Cameron, is that something you go over with the first baseman spring training?
Absolutely.
Because some guys, they don't have good arms. Do you need them? You need them to get way out?
Whether it's a guy transitioning or a guy that just, you know, you're new or not familiar with, you tell him, hey, my arm isn't as good. I want you to come out a little bit closer to second base. Come get this ball. Or vice versa. Hey, give me a little space. I got a pretty good arm, pretty good carry. Back up a little bit so it gives me a little bit more room to make a really good throw and kind of push you guys in a better situation defensively.
Key, get there early, give me a big target, correct?
Absolutely.
And if you're a first baseman that needs some fine-tuning, this is the person you need to go to.
Are you serious? Hey, sorry about the skills and the range. Basically,
You're working with the best, though. You're working with
Soft
the best with
hands,
Ron
too.
Washington.
Look at that backhand, nice and soft.
Go through the ball. That's what he works on.
Yes.
He says you'll never get a bad bounce. Is that true?
Well, I don't know about never getting a bad bounce because we can't determine it, but yes, you put yourself in a good position. I tell young kids we're not catching frogs out here. We don't go from top down. We got to go from the bottom up. You got to extend through nice and
Lauren,
smooth.
I could never get that. That's why I quickly got moved to the outfit.
Oh, believe me, I was like,
more
not for nothing.
I was more one of those
I'm hot.
Olay guys. You know what I mean? So.
That's all we got. That's all we got, Lauren.
Over here.
Thank you.
And hang out. Hey, Jared Walsh and Matt Carpenter will certainly be watching their alma maters battle it out for the national championship coming up. We'll have our own little Georgia versus TCU matchup. It's next on MLB Tonight.